All right, we have a long list to catch up with this week. Welcome to the Armchair update. This is for the week October 9th. It's coming out slightly late because I've been a bit behind on projects, but anyway, let's jump into it. For the Northeast, we're of course going to talk about Alstom. Amtrak's OIG report came out about the new Avelias and how there was a bunch of issues with them. They've been delayed from 2022 to 2024. This is because of multiple issues, many of which I have highlighted in my video of them, which you can find probably up there. This is not an Amtrak or American issue either. The same model in France, the TGV-M, has also been delayed to enter service and now is expected to enter service in 2025. But basically the short of it is that there's leaky hydraulics, there's leaky roofs, there's some oscillation issues, and then the biggest thing is that Alstom has just not modeled the train correctly in the computer, so they can't do aging testing or they can't do mileage testing for like lifespan stuff on the corridor. So that's important. You need to know how the train will react once it gets older or has more miles on it. The next is the MTA has released their 2022 needs assessment report. They are mostly looking into, or a large part of the report is about ADA compliance and CBTC stuff. These are their two biggest priorities. CBTC is basically allows the subway trains on certain lines to run closer to each other. So this can increase the frequency of the line, higher peak demands, and higher throughput on lines that otherwise do not have the trackage for it. There is a particular push in this report also to upgrade substations and maintenance facilities on the subway, Second Avenue subway. They're going to try to expand the plans so that it is now, instead of ending at the Metro North station at 125th, it will go farther west all the way over basically to the Hudson, meeting with the A train and some of the other subway lines over there. This will allow residents at the top of Manhattan to travel east-west very easily and then back down, obviously, if they want to commute all the way down on the east side. What's interesting and why non-New Yorkers should care is that this is the most expansion that the subway has planned in over 100 years. People should stop dooming about this. This is a good time actually in American transit history. And we have a huge amount of investment that's going to be going into these projects. So it's something to really look forward to. And even though New York isn't a perfect example of all the US, it's very much a city that you can look to see indicators on the health of transit in the country. Moving all the way across the country to California, we have a few issues in California. The first is BART San Jose's extension is delayed and more costly than they thought it would be. The BART extension was supposed to be a 4.7 mile stretch from North San Jose to downtown and then connecting with Caltrans at 2 stations on the west side. The whopping new price tag of $12.2 billion for 4.7 miles is kind of wild in any context. That actually puts a lot of New York projects way cheaper per mile. The project was mainly flawed because the planners decided that this largely suburban area would be perfect for a tunnel boring and entire extension, and not just normal tunnel boring where you have 2 tiny tunnel borers. No, one massive one. So instead of having an elevated viaduct or a cut and cover tunnel, they decided that the extension should be dug to the center of the earth, or like 100 feet down. Not only does this raise the cost of construction, but it also makes getting down to the platforms take longer with the maze of the staircases and elevators that will be needed. This extension, I think this extension should happen. It should just be reevaluated, obviously. It's obvious that the approach of the tunnel boring machine and how deep and how big of a tunnel boring machine they were going to use is the wrong approach. Also, for how suburban San Jose is, there's no excuse to really tunnel bore there. Oh no, you're going to piss off the like 12 multi-million-dollar homeowners. Oh no, dear God, and their stucco home with drywall. Oh no, I might have to take that down. The next is another big California story, which is Caltrans fires employee for opposing highway expansion. Jean Ward Waller was Caltrans Deputy Director of Planning and Modal Programs, and she was essentially fired from her position for objecting to a highway expansion in the Central Valley. Caltrans went around environmental laws by improperly describing projects as pavement rehabilitation when it was actually widening the road to accommodate new lanes. After demoting Ward Waller on the 14th, she submitted a formal whistleblower complaint to Caltrans on September 16th. She was then let go from the agency soon after. To anyone that doesn't have a brain, this isn't surprising that this is coming from a state DOT. They go around environmental laws to build and widen highways. This is not surprising. When transit projects like California high-speed rail struggle with environmental laws, highway projects always seem to slip under the radar. And I wonder why that is. It's because state DOTs are a little bit rotten to their core, and this is just one example of that. And it's not the lower people on the bottom half of Caltrans or other state DOTs. It's always going to be the old heads and the directors at the top. They are the ones that know better, they are the ones that know how to get around things, and they're the ones that often force their employees that are lower, newer engineers to do terrible things that these lower engineers know that they probably shouldn't be doing. And so once these older heads are gone from these state DOTs, they're going to change massively. On the other hand, in California, Siemens produces the first Amtrak Airo car. This is the new train sets that Amtrak is going to be running all over the US, mainly on the corridor and services coming off of the corridor. These cars are basically venture coaches. They've been seen both on Brightline and on the Amtrak Midwest services. I just hope to God that their seats are better than the Brightline and Midwest services, because oh my God, there is such a major step down from the Amfleets. The Amfleets have these nice, like lazy boy cushioned recliner stuff, and then these goofy Siemens Ventures have these European seats with these stupid headrests that my shoulders and any other tall person shoulders would hit. And it's like, no, don't take away the one thing that makes American rail good, which is the seats. San Francisco is about to lose its power over housing. Oh gosh. I think San Francisco is a good city, and I think that it has a lot of potential, but all of the problems that are like it's dealing with, which is like homelessness, basically inadequacy to use its police department and like properly at all. This is all due to NIMBYS blocking housing for the last 30-40 years for various reasons, but this was addressed with SB 35, which was a California state law. It's a law that overrides most appeals, delays, denials, lawsuits, and neighborhood negotiations that govern certain kinds of low-income affordable housing developments. Starting in summer 2024, almost all new apartment construction in San Francisco will be streamlined, including the supermajority of San Francisco housing that is priced by the market. Now, however, thanks to Scott Wiener's amendment, the city housing plans will be addressed annually starting in 2024. Now, what does that mean? So one law or one bill that was a sister to SB 35 was SB 423, and that goes into effect in the spring. Basically what this does is it will assess San Francisco. Has San Francisco built enough housing? Has it built enough affordable housing? Is it keeping up with the state mandates of building new housing? And if they don't meet those mandates, the state takes over. Now, since San Francisco it has such an inadequate government that doesn't build housing, they're of course going to fail this assessment. And so what that means is that once they flunk this assessment, the state takes over, and getting new housing approved is basically as easy as going to your DMV or something and getting a license. So we're about to see a lot of new housing built in late 2024 and 2025. And oh boy, we're going to see some interesting political things happen in San Francisco in the next few years. Now to the Midwest. Some big things with Amtrak. Amtrak is announcing a bunch of improvements to Chicago Union Station. There will now be through running through Chicago Union Station, Metro Regional Rail with lines continuing through the city through Union now on platforms 1 through 3, I think. Platform widening they're widening platforms for faster boarding and deboarding. They have also another plan to take the post office across the street, sort of like Moynihan, and turn that into more stairways and ramps to get down to the platforms for faster and quicker boarding. And now finally on to Europe. The biggest thing with Europe, which I didn't talk about, which kind of dropped on the same day I dropped the last news article, was that High-Speed Rail 2 in Britain has been cancelled. And what does that mean? So High-Speed Rail 2 is a big project to connect London with the more northern cities in the UK, meaning Manchester and Leeds are the main ones that we're talking about. The current phase 1 of High-Speed 2, so phase 1 of High-Speed 2 is currently connecting London to Birmingham, excuse me. It's connecting London to Birmingham, and then from there, phase 2 was supposed to connect to Manchester and Leeds. So the thing that's canceled is phase 2, which was the more important aspect of this. This is the largest UK infrastructure and has been drastically reduced in scope. The full HS2 project was roughly the same distance from New York to Washington, D.C. This is kind of giving perspective from people in the Western Hemisphere. Which is not that far. Like, this is like building a second or faster Northeast corridor next to the main one. And the main thing with this is that this was never supposed to be mainly about the high-speed trains. This was supposed to get all of the express trains off of the current East and West Coast main lines. So basically, when you run express services and local services together, the local services obviously are a lot slower. So you get the local services blocking the express services. So when you do the timetables for trains, you have to make a bigger block opening for the express so that it doesn't get stuck behind any of the local trains. What High-Speed 2 was trying to do is it was trying to take all of those express trains that go intercity between the north and south, and it was trying to take them all off of the East and West Coast main lines so that the East and West Coast main lines could more be used for local trains. This is obviously kind of stupid to stop it after phase 1, because the whole point of High-Speed 2 was to get express trains off of the main lines from London to Manchester. Since it's not getting all the way to Manchester now, High-Speed 2 is becoming a lot less relevant. And this is all because the Conservatives just have a very anti-train, pro-car stance. We're seeing that with the current Prime Minister, and we've seen it a little bit in the past with the Tories and stuff, but this is the most obvious, blatant example of just stupid forward thinking. And this is all just basically because, oh, gotta own the libs. It's just basically shooting yourself in the foot. And so if you're in the UK and you want this stuff to change, if you're probably watching my channel and you're in the UK, you're probably not gonna vote Conservative anyway. But yeah, don't vote Conservative. That would be stupid. But other than that, yeah, that's been it for this week of the Armchair Update. Thank you, of course, to my Patreons, and I'll see you guys in the next one. The next Armchair Urbanist video will be coming very soon. It's a very important topic that's for people in Ohio, so look forward to that one. We'll see ya.